enough time to join. So let's begin. Let's start with the homework. Do you remember the homework? Or you have completely forgotten about it? Okay, first, can someone tell us what was the homework? Any volunteers?
We're supposed to use a diffusing method for when we're angry.
So the assignment was, when the occasion arises, when you are provoked or when you get angry, so you are supposed to use one of the techniques to cool yourself down. So have you tried? How many of you have tried? Okay, very good, very good. Okay, who wants to share with the class what happened, what did you do, and then whether it worked or not? Today we need at least 5 volunteers. Okay, who wants to go first?
I took a deep breath and I just did not say anything else because I didn't want to get angry.
Did it work?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Good. Thank you for trying. That's good.
I breathed in and out, and all my anger just released.
Okay. Sorry, I don't see your name. Karma, is it? You are Yunden. What's your name? Sorry.
Karma.
Karma. Okay, Karma. Can you say it again?
I just took a deep breath and all my anger flowed away.
Wow, that's great. So Karma there was incident of anger, and then he took a deep breath and then it all went away. That's great. So are you planning to do that all the time when you get angry? Okay, very good. Who else wants to share?
I went on a walk around the house. Well, actually, no. I went on a walk outside the house so I could like get away from the situation, and then also like it's good because you're like moving the body and you're breathing.
Oh, I see. You walk away from the situation. Okay, that's good. Okay, one more. One more. There's someone who is using that as a profile picture. Tsewang.
No.
Okay, what did you do? Did you try any of the techniques?
When I got angry, I walked away.
Okay, that's the easiest, isn't it? Okay, so I think you all see the benefit of not getting angry in the first place. And even when you get angry, try not to aggravate that. Try not to make it even worse. So the techniques that we discussed last week are means to cope with anger, because we will get angry one way or another. There will be so many things that will trigger our anger. So when such occasion arises, we must remember, first of all, we must remember how disastrous when you get angry and when you act upon it, nothing good will come out of that. Especially when you do something and when your parents are getting angry at you. And if you retort back with anger, what happens? you will get into more trouble. So now that you have learned these techniques, so when your parents get angry at you, you must teach them. If mom gets angry at you, you can tell your mother, Mom, take a deep breath. Teach them how to regulate their anger. So that's good for your parents and also good for yourself. It's for your self-interest. Because when you are able to calm your parents down, then you won't get into trouble. Maybe you will get into lesser trouble. And same with your classmates. When you go to school, if you are angry all the time, you won't find any friends. Nobody would like to befriend you because you cannot control your anger. You are all the time angry. Nobody likes an angry person. So these lessons are not just for this week or the last week. It is, you have to use this all the time, whether you are at home, whether you are at school, whether you are outside, anywhere. Anytime there is something you come across that triggers your anger, use one of these methods. Walking away is the easiest, and then taking deep breath is another easy one. Then when you go home, and if you are still angry at that person, then use the other ones. Why am I getting angry at this person? Is it worthwhile? My getting angry at this person, is it helping me? Is it making me happier? Or is it destroying my peace of mind? Normally, when we get angry and when we harbor hatred against somebody, we are not at peace. Sometimes we have difficulty sleeping. So it's not good for your health, and also it's not good for your peace of mind. So when you started to think of that person, then you tell yourself that harboring such hatred and anger against that person does not help me. If I want myself to help, then I should let go of that. And then remember, another method is to use that crazy person, the analogy of a crazy person. If a crazy person, insane person, a mad person, or even a drunkard one, if they act badly, we normally don't get angry. We excuse that person because we know that the person is not in control because of his insanity, because something is wrong with his brain. He cannot control himself. So we normally tend to excuse such person. Likewise, we can also look at whoever is causing you angry. For that person, he is either doing out of anger or either out of ignorance. He doesn't know. He doesn't know the truth. He is so blinded that he is saying all these things. So it's not really his fault. If he were not ignorant, if he were not blinded by his ignorance or his anger or whatever, then he wouldn't be acting in such a way. Remember, we talked about when we do something wrong, and later when we apologize, we always say, oh, I'm so sorry. I was under the influence of anger. I wasn't myself. We kind of blame anger for our action. So this same thing, the other person, when the other person does this kind of thing, we can also blame his anger and not that person. If a person, if your schoolmates or classmates hurls you an insult, but if you don't get angry and if you become friend, maybe that person will become your best friend. Who knows? But if you get angry and retort, then the situation will get worse. So it doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse. Okay, so don't forget this. This you have to remember all the time, especially when you are at school. So today we are going to discuss something else. Remember, we talked about the two-prong approaches. Okay, by now you should be very familiar with what are the two-prong approaches. Can someone answer for me? What are the two-prong approaches? Can anybody recall?
Reduce destructive emotions and then cultivate positive emotions.
Exactly. On the one hand, you have this tool like a scale. So on the one hand, we bring down those destructive emotions. And then on the other hand, we raise or we bring up the positive emotions. So last week, we talked about one of the destructive emotions, anger, for instance, how to regulate that. We have talked about that. So today we are going to choose one of the positive, positive emotions, and then we can see how we can enhance that or how we can develop or cultivate within us. So let me share my screen first. Okay. So do you see what I am sharing? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it reads, calming your mind. So it's mainly to know our mind, to connect with our mind. We hardly connect with our mind. Our mind is all the time directed outward. We hardly direct our mind inward and look into our minds. So today we are going to learn how to do that. So by doing that, then maybe we will be able to connect with our mind, and thereby we have more control. We know what we are doing instead of reacting. We may be able to respond. The difference is that normally when somebody says there is no time for us, we normally react. It's like reflex. When you touch a hot pot, you automatically pulls your hand back. So that's kind of a reacting. But whereas when you know what you are thinking, when you see your mind, what your mind is thinking, then it will give you a time to think what to do and then how to respond. So that is, you are responding to the person or to the action, whatever it is, and you have your choice. Whereas when we react, we don't have choice. We are not doing it consciously. It's just a reaction. So that's what we are going to look at today. So first, something is problem here. Okay, let's watch this first.
So people want a lot of things out of life, but I think more than anything else, they want happiness. Aristotle called happiness the chief good, the end towards which all other things aim. According to this view, the reason we want a big house, or a nice car, or a good job, isn't that these things are intrinsically valuable. It's that we expect them to bring us happiness. Now, in the last 50 years, we Americans have gotten a lot of the things that we want. We're richer, we live longer.
Sorry, there's somebody who is doodling on the screen. Could you please stop that? Because we are recording this.
But I think more than anything else, they want happiness. Aristotle called happiness the chief good, the end towards which all other things aim. According to this view, the reason we want a big house, or a nice car, or a good job, isn't that these things are intrinsically valuable. It's that we expect them to bring us happiness. Now, in the last 50 years, we Americans have gotten a lot of the things that we want. We're richer, we live longer, we have access to technology that would have seemed like science fiction just a few years ago. The paradox of happiness is that even though the objective conditions of our lives have improved dramatically, we haven't actually gotten any happier. Maybe because these conventional notions of progress haven't delivered big benefits in terms of happiness, there's been an increased interest in recent years in happiness itself. People have been debating the causes of happiness for a really long time, in fact, for thousands of years, but it seems like many of those debates remain unresolved. As with many other domains in life, I think the scientific method has the potential to answer this question. In fact, in the last few years, there's been an explosion in research on happiness. For example, we've learned a lot about its demographics, how things like income and education, gender and marriage relate to it. But one of the puzzles this has revealed is that factors like these don't seem to have a particularly strong effect. Yes, it's better to make more money rather than less, or to graduate from college instead of dropping out, but the differences in happiness tend to be small. Which leaves the question, what are the big causes of happiness? I think that's a question we haven't really answered yet, but I think something that has the potential to be an answer is that maybe happiness has an awful lot to do with the contents of our moment-to-moment experiences. It certainly seems as we're going about our lives that what we're doing, who we're with, what we're thinking about have a big influence on our happiness, and yet these are the very factors that have been very difficult, in fact, almost impossible for scientists to study. A few years ago, I came up with a way to study people's happiness moment to moment as they're going about their daily lives on a massive scale all over the world, something we'd never been able to do before. Called trackyourhappiness.org, it uses the iPhone to monitor people's happiness in real time. How does this work? Basically, I send people signals at random points throughout the day, and then I ask them a bunch of questions about their moment-to-moment experience at the instant just before the signal. The idea is that if we can watch how people's happiness goes up and down over the course of the day, minute to minute in some cases, and try to understand what people are doing, who they're with, what they're thinking about, and all the other factors that describe our day, how those might relate to those changes in happiness, we might be able to discover some of the things that really have a big influence on happiness. We've been fortunate with this project to collect quite a lot of data, a lot more data of this kind than I think has ever been collected before. Over 650,000 real-time reports from over 15,000 people. And it's not just a lot of people, it's a really diverse group. People from a wide range of ages, from 18 to late 80s, a wide range of incomes, education levels, people who are married, divorced, widowed, etc. They collectively represent every one of 86 occupational categories and hail from over 80 countries. What I'd like to do with the rest of my time with you today is talk a little bit about one of the areas that we've been investigating, and that's mind wandering. As human beings, we have this unique ability to have our minds stray away from the present. This guy's sitting here working on his computer, and yet he could be thinking about the vacation he had last month, wondering what he's going to have for dinner. Maybe he's worried that he's going bald. This ability to focus our attention on something other than the present is really amazing. It allows us to learn and plan and reason in ways that no other species of animal can. And yet it's not clear what the relationship is between our use of this ability and our happiness. You've probably heard people suggest that you should stay focused on the present. Be here now, you've probably heard 100 times. Maybe to really be happy, we need to stay completely immersed and focused on our experience in the moment. Maybe mind wandering is a bad thing. On the other hand, when our minds wander, they're unconstrained. We can't change the physical reality in front of us, but we can go anywhere in our minds. Since we know people want to be happy, maybe when our minds wander, they're going to someplace happier than the place that they're leaving. It would make a lot of sense. In other words, maybe the pleasures of the mind allow us to increase our happiness with mind wandering. Well, since I'm a scientist, I'd like to try to resolve this debate with some data. In particular, I'd like to present some data to you from 3 questions that I asked with Track Your Happiness. Remember, this is from sort of moment-to-moment experience in people's real lives. There are 3 questions. The first one is a happiness question. How do you feel on a scale ranging from very bad to very good? Second, an activity question. What are you doing on a list of 22 different activities, including things like eating and working and watching TV? And finally, a mind-wandering question. Are you thinking about something other than what you're currently doing? People could say no. In other words, I'm focused only on my task. Or yes, I am thinking about something else, and the topic of those thoughts are pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. Any of those yes responses are what we called mind wandering. So what did we find? This graph shows happiness on the vertical axis, and you can see that bar there representing how happy people are when they're focused on the present, when they're not mind wandering. As it turns out, people are substantially less happy when their minds are wandering than when they're not. Now you might look at this result and say, okay, sure, on average, people are less happy when they're mind wandering, but surely when their minds are straying away from something that wasn't very enjoyable to begin with, at least then mind wandering should be doing something good for us. Nope. As it turns out, people are less happy when they're mind wandering, no matter what they're doing. For example, people don't really like commuting to work very much. It's one of their least enjoyable activities. And yet they are substantially happier when they're focused only on their commute than when their mind is going off to something else. It's amazing. So how could this be happening? I think part of the reason, a big part of the reason, is that when our minds wander, we often think about unpleasant things, and they are enormously less happy when they do that. Our worries, our anxieties, our regrets. And yet, even when people are thinking about something neutral, they're still considerably less happy than when they're not mind wandering at all. Even when they're thinking about something they would describe as pleasant, they're actually just slightly less happy than when they aren't mind wandering. If mind wandering were a slot machine, it would be like having the chance to lose $50, $20, or $1, right? You'd never want to play. So I've been talking about this, suggesting perhaps that mind wandering causes unhappiness, but all I've really shown you is that these 2 things are correlated. It's possible that's the case, but it might also be the case that when people are unhappy, then they mind wander. Maybe that's what's really going on. How could we ever disentangle these 2 possibilities? Well, one fact that we can take advantage of, I think a fact you'll all agree is true, is that time goes forward, not backward, right? The cause has to come before the effect. We're lucky in this data, we have many responses from each person. And so we can look and see, does mind wandering tend to precede unhappiness, or does unhappiness tend to precede mind wandering, to get some insight into the causal direction? As it turns out, there is a strong relationship between mind wandering now and being unhappy a short time later, consistent with the idea that mind wandering is causing people to be unhappy. In contrast, there's no relationship between being unhappy now and mind wandering a short time later. In other words, mind wandering very likely seems to be an actual cause and not merely a consequence of unhappiness. A few minutes ago, I likened mind wandering to a slot machine you'd never want to play. Well, how often do people's minds wander? Turns out they wander a lot. In fact, really a lot. 47% of the time, people are thinking about something other than what they're currently doing. How does that depend on what people are doing? This shows the rate of mind wandering across 22 activities, ranging from a high of 65% when people are taking a shower, brushing their teeth, to 50% when they're working, to 40% when they're exercising, all the way down to this one short bar on the right that I think some of you are probably laughing at. 10% of the time, people's minds are wandering when they're having sex. But there's something I think that's quite interesting in this graph, and that is basically, with one exception, no matter what people are doing, they're mind wandering at least 30% of the time, which suggests, I think, that mind wandering isn't just frequent, it's ubiquitous. It pervades basically everything that we do. In my talk today, I've told you a little bit about mind wandering, a variable that I think turns out to be fairly important in the equation for happiness. My hope is that over time, by tracking people's moment-to-moment happiness and their experiences in daily life, we'll be able to uncover a lot of important causes of happiness. And then in the end, a scientific understanding of happiness will help us create a future that's not only richer and healthier, but happier as well. Thank you.
So what do you think?
I think that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind.
Wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So what do you get from this one?
I think if that you're wandering in your mind, you're thinking of better things, but the better things, even if you achieve them, then it's still not, you're still going to think of more better things, and it's not really going to help.
Okay, that's a very good point. Anybody else?
I think it's important to be present in the moment in what you're doing.
Yeah, being present in the moment. Remember, I mentioned that today we are going to discuss one other prong we are going to focus on something to cultivate positive attitude, to boost our happiness. So this is one thing, mind wandering. We are distracted all the time. But if we are able to bring our mind to concentration, to focus on what we are doing, then according to the research, we will be happier. But from our own experience, we know that we can accomplish a lot. For example, when you are in class, if you are 100% concentrated, 100% focus on what the teacher is teaching, then you will be able to absorb more. Whereas while you are physically in the class, and if your mind is elsewhere, then no matter how good the teacher is, nothing will get in because your mind is not receptive to that. And even when we study for exam or anything, if we are distracted, if our mind keeps wandering, then we were not able to prepare well for the exam because our concentration is divided. Even just reading a book. For me, when long time ago, when I read a book, it's like I will read, maybe there are many of you who are similar to me. When I read a page, one page, I start from the beginning and then, I will finish reading to the end. But at the end, if somebody asks me, what did you read? I won't be able to tell because somewhere along the lines, my mind has wandered, even though my eyes are going through the lines, but my mind is not following my eyes. So my mind has wandered. Because of that, I couldn't really understand that much. But then after I did this mindfulness meditation, what is called the attention focus meditation. It has helped a lot. Now, if I start reading, my attention will be on that page. Mind wandering hardly happens. So it makes a big difference. So that's why I am introducing this one. Do you do meditation at school? Because in the US, many schools adopt that. You don't?
I do in my Tibetan class.
You do in Tibetan course. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
My school hates it.
Okay, now let me share the screen again. Yeah. Share screen. Oops. So remember, we started with the topic of happiness. And then, yeah, we talk about two-prong approaches. So when we talk about happiness, there are different levels of happiness. Right now, the distracted mind, wandering mind, is an unhappy mind. The research finds that. The opposite is that if we're able to focus our mind on the present moment, then it can produce happiness. So when we talk about happiness, we need to understand there are different levels of happiness. The one that we are talking about right now, and all the research they are talking about, is what is called, in Tibetan, we call it korwe dawa, the worldly happiness. Those happiness that is derived from our senses, sensorial pleasures. So these are just a worldly happiness. It does not last. It changes. For example, eating, for example. If you have the food that you really like, but if you eat too much of that, you will experience suffering later. So if these are real happiness, then the more we engage in, the more we indulge in, it should provide more happiness. But that is not the case. So that suggests that something is wrong with that kind of happiness. And then we have something called Dharma. Have you heard about that? Dharma, Nirvana Liberation. So that is kind of escaping from this existence where we are born. This whole thing, this existence, we call samsara. So as long as you are in samsara, you have no real freedom. We are in the illusion that, we have freedom and we have everything, but we don't, because we are controlled by our emotions, our destructive emotions, and then what is called karma. We will discuss in our later class. So we need to get freedom from this. So when we achieve that, then we can say that we obtain or we attained nirvana or liberation. So that kind of happiness is better than the much better than the first one. And then the, what you call the top one, the best kind of happiness is what is called Sangye, Buddhahood, state of enlightenment. So when we become Buddha, then we are free of everything. So what does Sangye mean? Can somebody tell me?
Sangye means like get all the bad anger, get all the bad stuff out and absorb all the good things.
Very good, very good. So Sangye, there are two words. Sang and plus ge. So combine, that becomes Sangye. The Tibetan language, it is very rich. Each word has very profound meaning. So what does Sang means? One who is completely purified of all faults and delusions. At the moment, why we are not happy is because we are filled with all these faults and delusions. We have anger, we have jealousy, we have all kinds of emotions. Dejinla, can you mute your? Thank you. Yeah. So Sang means one who is completely purified of all faults and delusions. And then Ge means perfected all knowledge and wisdom. So when we become Sangye, there's no more learning. We know everything. Not only we know everything, we have perfected. We have mastered everything. So that's why everybody wants to become Buddha. First of all, we will have no faults. Because we have no faults, we will be happy all the time. There is no room for misery or unhappiness or suffering. And then you know everything. So it's so wonderful to become like that. So when you combine these two words, it becomes a fully enlightened being who is free of all flaws and possesses all the good qualities and knowledge. So that's the definition of Sangye. So next time when somebody asks you, what does Buddha mean? What does Sangye mean? So you should be able to explain. You should be able to give these explanations, these definitions. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, the question is, anyway, I will talk later. Is it possible to become that kind of person? So it is possible because all that our faults are temporary. If we apply the right antidote, we can eradicate all that. We just need to, as we mentioned earlier, the two-prong approach. We need to reduce by cultivating or generating the antidote, the opposite. So one of such is called meditation, mindfulness meditation, which helps prevent mind wandering. So there are so many benefits in doing that. So this is a news clip. I don't know whether you remember or not. A few years ago, I think there were 15 or 16 boys were trapped in a cave with their coach for days. And their survival was attributed to the coach teaching them meditation. So they meditated in the cave, and because of that, they were able to survive for days until they were rescued. There are more news. Thai cave rescue, coach led boys in meditation to keep them calm. A Thai soccer coach taught taught his team to meditate in the flooded cave, and it may have played a powerful role in keeping them alive. So these are some of the benefits. And there is a full book written on this. Full catastrophic living. It is all about, and what you call anecdotal evidence, how mindfulness meditation has helped people recover from chronic pains and all kinds of illnesses. And then it is very well established in the scientific world. When you search for mindfulness meditation, you can see that there are 260,000. I use both words. If I just use mindfulness, there will be even more than this one. So it is very well established. These are all about research on mindfulness meditations, benefits, the effects. So before we dive into mindfulness meditation, we need to understand what is meditation. What is meditation in Tibetan? What is the term?
Gom.
Okay. Very good, very good. So what does Gom mean?
Gom.
So let's look at the definition. So tell me whether this is right. In your mind's browser, clear all cache. Now delete your history. Now navigate to a blank web page. Do you think that meditation is about blanking our minds? Space out, not thinking at all. Do you think that is what meditation is about?
No.
No.
Okay. So meditation is not about blanking the mind. But if you need to sleep, then if you try to blank out, it can help you to fall asleep. So try this, like the way you, sometimes when you have difficulty falling asleep, any thoughts comes, you know, the way we close our application on computer, we just press that, what do you call that, X mark, and it shuts down. So when thoughts come, you just close, and then if you consistently do that, it won't take even 1 minute. You will fall asleep the minute you touch your pillow. So I experimented and it worked for me one time. So anyway, the point is, when it comes to meditation, it is not about thinking nothing. Then is it about imagining and letting our mind wander into a nice place? It is not. Meditation is not about thinking something pleasant. So now the question is, then what is meditation? So meditation in Sanskrit is called bhavana, meaning cultivation. So what does it mean? We can cultivate all kinds of things. We can cultivate berries, we can cultivate corn, maize, rice, and all that. But here, when we talk about cultivation, we are talking about cultivation of inner qualities, those positive qualities, compassion, love, like this one, mindfulness, contentment, appreciation. All those good qualities, the positive qualities. So meditation is about cultivating these inner qualities, these positive qualities. That is based on the term bhavana. So in Tibetan, word language, we call this gom. So what does gom mean? Gom literally means familiarization, to accustom to habituate to. Remember, we're saying the phrase gom dure. That means if you repeatedly engage in a particular activity again and again, then it can become your habit. You will become habituated. You will become accustomed to it. So later it will come automatically without needing effort. So that's what it means, the literal meaning. So it is about training and transforming. So we familiarize, we make ourselves familiar to the positive qualities so that all these positive qualities become our, our habit. At the moment, anger, jealousy, all these destructive emotions, it arises very easily within us. We don't need to put effort. We don't need to sit down and meditate to get angry. We get angry so quickly because we are so used to it. We have familiarized it so much that it comes so easily. So now what we have to do is we have to work to reduce anger, and in its place, we need to familiarize with its antidote, its opposite, which is tolerance, patience. We need to be patient. We need to be tolerant. So the techniques that we discussed last week, if you use that often, then you will notice that you have improved, that you are no longer that person who gets angry so quickly. So there will be times where you are able to see your anger rising, and there you can kind of regulate it, you can control it. So that's what it means, meditation. You got it?
Okay.
Okay. So now the purpose of meditation. Why do we meditate? Why is Gom so important? Because we need to, Gom is to help us to train and transform our mind into one with a positive mental attitude. For example, we can transform our physical attitude, physical action, as well as verbal, and also our mental action or attitude. For example, if you like to kill insects, that's not good. So through training yourself, through thinking about harming is not good. If somebody were to harm me, I wouldn't like that. Likewise, that insect also wouldn't like to be harmed. So thinking that way, if we are able to restrain from killing insects, and then slowly, if you become more compassionate towards insect. First, when you see an insect, like for example, ant, if you see an ant crawling, you have no hesitation to squash it. But now, through thinking about all this, you became more conscious. You became aware of the suffering they will experience. So now, instead of squashing, you feel sorry and you feel compassionate towards that insect. That is what is called transformation. Now your physical action of killing has transformed into something of compassionate one. This is the same with the speech. If you are the person who is very prone to telling lies, remember some people are liars, they always tell lies. telling lie is not good. Nobody likes people who tell lies. Nobody will trust you when you tell lie all the time. Even if you tell the truth, people will not buy it. People will not believe you because you have been telling lie all the time. So we need to transform that. We need to change that. So after realizing the negativities, the flaws, the disadvantages of telling lie, if you started to change your speech, instead of telling lie, if you try your best to not to tell lie and always speak the truth, then one day it will become automatic. You will not tell lie. You will always tell the truth. So when that happens, that's also a transformation of your speech happens. So this is what it means by to transform our mind, our action to a positive one. And another objective of meditation, so this is, is to able to remain on the object of focus. At the moment when we try to focus on something, our mind does not remain on that object. Remember, we just talked about mind wandering. We get easily distracted. So when you do meditation, through meditation, we will be able to develop that kind of skill, that potential, that power to remain focused on one object. So that will be good. So when you go to school, so you will be able to focus on your class, whatever the teacher is teaching. And then when you prepare for your exam, you will be able to focus. When you are able to focus on whatever you are doing, then you will be able to learn or accomplish that deed within a short period of time. Otherwise, no matter how long you spend doing that, it will be difficult to finish. So these are the benefits or the purpose of meditation. So I think I won't go into this. So brain plasticity, this is to show that whether it is possible to bring those changes, bring those transformations. So from the scientific research, they say that we can do that. They have done experiments. Neuroscientists have done experiments. And what they call is brain plasticity. So one time, the scientists believed that when you reach certain age, you cannot change your brain. You cannot establish new, what you call the neural connections. But now they know that you can do that, especially through meditation. You can enhance your brain. So this is like evidence that we can become Buddha. So basically they say that train your mind and then change your brain. If you are interested, you can read this book, Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain. This is a book by Sharon Beckley, which is very easy to read, and it covers all that scientific research. So now coming back to meditation, there are two types of meditation. So we are not going to discuss the other meditation. We will only focus on the first one, which is called concentration meditation or shamatha. So this meditation is mainly to improve our concentration ability, to focus one's mind on one particular object to attain a level of single-pointed concentration. So the analytical meditation we will discuss next week. So today we are going to focus on concentration meditation because we need to improve our concentration. So there are characteristics. So you see the image here. There are 4 jars. You see the first one, which is the most dirtiest one. So if you try to look through, see through that jar, we cannot see anything. It is so muddy. But compared to the first one, it's better. But still we cannot see much. The third one, yeah, we can maybe make out some shapes there, but still not clearly. But look at this one. When all the dust settles down, then we can see clearly. Likewise, our mind, we have so many thoughts going in. It is like a traffic jam. You know, some traffic junctions where there are so many cars coming from the right, left, from the opposite direction, all this, it's like that, especially like big city like New York. So our mind is full of so many thoughts. So it is like the first one. That's why we are not able to think clearly. We are not able to focus on whatever we are doing. We keep distracted. So we need to bring all this dust down. We need to quieten our mind. That's why I call this, we need to calm our mind. Like the last jar. Then we will be able to. So I think it's Kiasangla. Could you please mute your microphone? Thank you. So mental stability and calmness. So this, if we engage in that meditation, we will be able to develop mental stability, be able to settle all that dust, that busy mind. Thereby, we will be free from distraction. And moreover, we will be free from dullness and lethargic. Sometimes we are interested to study. We wanted to prepare. We wanted to listen to the topic, but we feel lethargic. We feel drowsy. So when you are able to develop certain degree of this mental ability, this concentration ability, then we will be free from all that, free from distraction and free from dullness, drowsiness. So how should we go about? So how do we do meditation? In a way, it's quite simple. The first thing is we need to find a comfortable posture. Relax and comfortable posture. Of course, there are traditional postures, but it is okay. You can sit in any position. The main point is it has to be comfortable. If you are not comfortable in that position, then you won't be able to carry out your meditation because they will be ache from there or from here. So most important thing is to find a comfortable posture. Once you have that one, take 3 deep breaths, deliberate deep breaths. So when you breathe in, imagine you are drawing in all the oxygens. And then when you draw that in, imagine it is spreading all over your body. And then when you breathe out, imagine that you are breathing out all the stress, all the pain, wherever you have pain or stress or discomfort. Once you have taken these 3 deep, deliberate breaths, and then we need to choose anchor, breathing anchor is a focal point. So we will talk about it later. We need to find a place, find an object to focus our mind on. Once you have that, and then you just rest your mind on that anchor. So just simply breathe and experience each incoming and outgoing breath. You don't need to do anything else. Just focus your mind on whatever that anchor you chose. And then just breathe normally. You just observe your breathing, just watching your breath. So very quickly, we will notice that our mind is not on that anchor. It will wander away. So sometimes we will not even notice that. So once we notice that, we just have to bring it back. So that's how to meditate. So first, we need to find our breathing anchor. So breathing anchor is where you want to focus your mind. So you'll find a sensation, the most prominent sensation you feel when you breathe. So it could be nostril, the opening of your nose. So how you can do is you put your finger under your nose and then you breathe in and out, whether you can feel any sensation at your nostril, at the opening of your whether or not you can feel the sensation there. So that's one way. Another way is to feel, because people have different, people find it, their sensation on different areas. So another one is you touch your chest and then you breathe, and whether you can feel that your chest, when you breathe in and out, whether you feel the sensation. Or you can try your belly. You touch your belly, and then breathe in and out and see whether you can feel the sensation of its rising and falling. So out of these 3, you choose the one that you feel the strongest sensation, because the stronger the sensation, you will be able, it's easier to focus on. Okay, so first we will do a short practice to find our anchor. So let's try, okay? First, sit comfortably with your back straight. It is important that you have a straight back and your body relaxed. So I'm giving this meditation instruction, so you follow me, okay? Sit comfortably with your back straight and your body relaxed, resting your hands gently on your knees, and close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so. Notice what feels like to breathe in and out right now. Now put one finger under your nose and feel your breath going in and out. Can you feel it? Next, place your hand on your chest, over your heart. Can you feel your hand moving when you breathe? Now place your hand on your belly and feel the moment of your breathing there. You will notice the sensation of your belly rising and falling as you breathe. Put your hands back on your knees and breathe naturally. Notice where you feel the moment of your breath most easily. Is it just beneath your nose, or at your heart, or at your belly? Whichever you choose, that's the place I will be talking about when I use the word anchor. We are going to use this anchor for the rest of the meditation. So if you need to check again to see where it's easiest to feel your breathing right now, go ahead. Now, lightly rest your attention on your anchor. Remember what anchor is for you. Rest your attention on your anchor and see if you can keep your body relaxed at the same time. This is how we rest in the feeling of the moment of our breath. You can open your eyes now. So what do you think? Were you able to find your anchor? Who wants to share?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Which is the one you find? Which is your anchor?
My belly,
Why?
because I can feel it the most.
Okay, great, great. Okay, now that you have chosen your anchor, so now we will do another type of meditation. It's called resting and noticing. So it is also very simple. So first find a comfortable posture. Find your breathing anchor, which we have discussed, and then simply breathe in and out while resting your mind on that anchor. So that means wherever you feel the strongest sensation, you just rest your mind there. Focus your mind on that sensation while you breathe in and out. And then what will happen is, sooner or later, thoughts and emotions will bubble up. So when this happens, do not think about it. Just notice. Try not to think about them. Don't go after that thought. Simply notice and then bring your mind back on your anchor. Okay? So let's do another short meditation. You see, this boy is from Connecticut. Look at him, how is he meditating? Okay, let's begin. Sit comfortably with your back straight and your body relaxed, resting your hands gently on your knees, and close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so. Notice what feels like to breathe in and out right now. Let's find our breathing anchor. Take a moment to notice where you feel your breathing the most. Around your nose, your chest, or your belly.
How was it?
Once you have identified your anchor, just breathe in and out while resting your mind on the anchor. Simply watch your breath come in and go out. As you do this, thoughts and emotions will bubble up naturally, but we try not to think about them. Simply notice that a thought has popped up. Simply bring your attention back to your breath and continue focusing on it. Okay, you may now open your eyes. So what do you think? Did your mind wander, or were you able to focus within that time?
I was kind of wandering a little.
Okay, so what did you do?
I was thinking about video games.
Okay, so after that, when you realized that your mind has wandered, what did you do?
I tried to concentrate on my breath and my anchor.
So you brought it back. That's good. Anyone wants to share your experience?
I started falling asleep.
Okay, that's okay. That happens. So anyway, the trick is don't try to do long meditation. Just start with a short session, maybe 2 minutes, and then you can slowly increase. So that's for today. And we have homework. Try out the meditation at least twice in the coming week and share your experience with the class. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It's already almost 7:30. We meet next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
터진하게라.
Uh,
rinpoche.
Thank
또
you.
추천한 게라
Thank you.
rinpoche
Thank you.
터진아.
터진아.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.